You think you know sponsorships? You don't. But my next guest, JP Moery, will explain what sponsorships are all about and what you should be doing. Let's throw the green flag on this episode. Well, as I mentioned, we have JP Moery in the Atomic Autosports studio for another episode here. JP, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Bill, it's great to be with you. I listen to the podcast, and now to be a guest, man, I've just hit a new threshold. And super pleased to be with you, and thanks for doing it.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to have you on. Folks, I'm going to tell you in a second how JP and I met, but I want to tell you, if you're a podcast listener, you got to hit his Push to Pass podcast, 10 minutes or less episodes. He hits on something racing, business related. It's a great way to fill up 10 minutes of your day or less and walk away with something awesome. We're going to touch on his career a little bit as well as it relates to his background, but also motorsports. But if you're a listener to the show, you know that we talk about networking. We talk about building relationships, and that's exactly how JP and I met. A neighbor of mine who moved away, but I still keep in touch with, he and I were texting back and forth one day, and he says, I think you need to meet this JP guy. You two both like racing. He's into sponsorships at the IndyCar level. I'm thinking, why does this guy want to talk to me, Chuck? But yeah, let's get it connected. And JP and I had a great call. As I remember, it was around the holidays, JP, maybe last year, earlier this year, some holiday. You were traveling back home, spending some time where you grew up, I think. But I'm so glad that I said yes to Chuck's invitation and that you and I connected, and we've stayed in touch.
Oh yeah, me too. We learned a lot from you, and yeah, super. And I love to share experiences, because that's kind of the way that I learn, is having stories and just chatting with people. That's been the easiest way for me to learn about business and professional development and personal development as well. So I'm glad we connected as well.
For sure. So I'm going to let the listener know this episode is going to be a little different than previous episodes. JP isn't going to share any driving advice. He's not going to talk about his first autocross or how he grew up racing go-karts, because he never did those things, but he's very involved in our sport of racing. And I want to take the listeners back to JP. You had a successful business. You worked with, I think, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. You started your own consultancy, helping organizations navigate things in D.C. and become the best association they can. And then you sold that business, and now you're in racing sponsorships at the highest level of the sport, right?
Yeah, how did that happen? Right.
That's right.
Everybody has that kind of trajectory, that path, right? It's such a common path. Everybody knows it. Yeah, I got started. I was always passionate and enjoyed motorsports. I used to listen to Indy 500 on the radio, when it was still on tape delay and stuff. So I had a real passion for it. My family enjoyed motorsports and the Indy 500 and open wheel in particular. So I had a background in that. And one day I had a call, and I thought it was a prank, that the IndyCar owner and driver, Jimmy Vasser, called me on the phone, and he had run into networking a contact of mine from Oklahoma that he knew very well, and said, "Hey, we're starting an IndyCar team, and we'd like for you to be a part of it." And I kind of turned around, and I was like, "Man, I'd heard about the budgets and things like that. I'm not sure that's a fit for me." He says, "No, we want you to be involved because you're connected with the Washington, D.C. business community." So I started to sponsor an IndyCar first with my own company. And to me, I'll talk about this a lot, even on our podcast. It was the differentiation, because no one in their right mind that had a Washington, D.C. association consultancy was on an IndyCar, nor have they been since. But for us, it increased our visibility, our brand. People going, "What's that crazy guy doing?" And it differentiated us, I think. And I became so enamored with it, and it was so successful for my brand. Once I sold my company, I could see the gap between sponsors and race teams at every level. and could I help them kind of bridge that gap a little bit? And that's how I got involved into helping race teams, specifically in the sponsorship area.
Yeah. Your background, pre-sponsorship, what you're doing now, what from your previous business background, whether it was, being an individual contributor or manager or even a business owner, helps you today in growing your sponsorship business?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. I do believe that in some ways, I don't know if you've ever read the book uh, about selling, but The Art of the Sale, I think it is. Basically, the explanation was this: everybody's in sales and influence of some type, right?
Yeah.
You're either trying to get your wife to go to the restaurant that you want to go to, or get your kids to go to bed, or to close a business deal. We're in some kind of influence in a lot of our just regular stages of life. So the thing that I learned and was always involved in is in the business development and in the growth area. So that every business, whether it's motorsports or an association or the bakery down the street, they're all, I think, interested in growth and sales and expanding their market share. So that's what I learned in Washington, D.C., that very much translated into motorsport sponsorship pretty easily. Because as everybody probably on this podcast knows, you'll run out of money before you run out of talent some of the time. So I knew that it was a space that needed or wanted, or was a place that I could help them navigate that business development and growth area in sponsorship sales. So
Yeah.
that was the transition.
Yeah, one of the things you and we had a quick call yesterday. One of the things you mentioned to me was you really liked seeing the activation from the business into the sponsorship part. So for the listener, what does that mean, activation, when we're talking about sponsorship?
Yeah, I think it's very important, or an opportunity is to really identify how you could help that partner grow or that sponsor grow. So in the activation area, I've seen motorsports super good at having multifaceted areas that you could pull the lever on. Is it a business to business discussion around business partnerships? I remember at Milwaukee last year, we had 8 business appointments in the paddock, like real ones. Hey, this is the CEO of this company. This is the director of marketing for this one. You all need to meet and talk to each other. So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
Social media. Got this young lady that I work with, Taylor Reimer, that's in the Arkham and Ard series. Now, I started working with her when she was in USAC and Power Eye Midgets. She did a social media post for her brand with the midget that had over 1 million views. So you can have person to person, you can do social media, and then you look at the car branding where I'm starting to see millions of dollars of our IndyCar sponsors getting millions of dollars of ad generated value. If you ran an ad on television, you would get in the millions of dollars of ad value by sponsoring our IndyCar team. So that's what companies want. They can use all of those different levers if they want to, and if it helps them achieve their goals. So that's what I mean by activation. And it could be different based on the goals of that sponsor.
Yep. So folks listening, JP just dropped some gold nuggets there. It's the goal of the sponsor that makes this all work, because just because you need $500 for this weekend, you're going to slap a decal on your quarter panel. That doesn't resonate. It's that business's goal, isn't it, JP?
If I know it's one of the most difficult parts, and sometimes when I'm on a cold streak and I haven't had a sponsor come in for a while, I'm thinking about me all the time, right, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
But the quicker and the more consistent you can be about, hey, maybe it's an auto shop down the street, maybe it's a franchise. What's the goal of yours? Is it to get more franchisees? Well, if it's more franchisees, maybe we want to do some one-on-one type of business meetings at the track and invite people to see the experience that you have to offer. Some folks, it's just a business to consumer. They want more people to buy. So what's your How do you amplify their brand? You know, much many of the drivers now, if you activate and if you really start to grow your social media presence on LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, whatever it might be, you, a simple posting from you may outsize everything they could do from their company. But you need to know what moves the needle for them and approach it that way first. So it's an outside in approach that I always try to embrace as much as I can.
Yeah. So you're going to love what I'm going to share with you right now, JP. My role with Radar Complete Car Care, I handle the marketing and franchise development. And anytime there's a race happening, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, I will get decks sent to me unsolicited saying, hey, we're going to be in your market. First off, they're not necessarily in my market. And hey, here's what it looks like. We got $5,000 option, $10,000 option, $15,000 option. Which one looks good to you? Without even asking me what the goal is, or asking me if I have the budget, asking me if I like racing. These decks just show up unsolicited. Probably a bad approach.
Well, or think about how different you might look by approaching it this way. Bill, I've noticed that the Rad Air franchises are kind of in the MAC conference area, in Ohio, upper around the Cleveland area. Are you looking to expand and to get more franchisees? Like asking those questions rather than, I'm not a fit for everyone. But if I can position it by asking more questions about their business, everybody's more likely and more willing to talk about themselves anyway. So why talk about myself rather than learning and hearing from them first? That's probably the biggest advantage that my experiences in sales helps our race teams.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm used to doing it that way.
It's all
them first.
It's all about the questions.
Yeah.
It really is. Let's talk about some fun stories from what you're doing now. So you're on the road all the time. You're following around your IndyCar team. You work really closely with AJ Foyt Racing and Santino Ferrucci. What's it like being on the road all the time? Race to race, meeting to meeting, all that other stuff. Are you loving it? Does it get stressful at times? What are the highlights?
Oh, I tell you what was the year? Was it 3 years ago? And Santino took the lead with about 20 laps to go at the Indy 500. I almost had a stroke.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching myself. Have you ever, I was like, I thought I died and I was watching myself, right? It was so stressful. Here's the thing that has changed a little bit, Bill, and that is I'm so focused on their success and our sponsor success. I'm less of a racing fan than I used to be, or it's evolved.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship with the sport has evolved. Like as soon as AJ Foyt Racing, and I'm all focused on them and how Santino and this year Kyle Collette will do. And after that's done, then I don't really pay attention. Sometimes who won the race? I'm not even sure. Like I don't pay attention to the overall as much as I'm focused on our stuff. That's changed a lot. When I got into it, I was just about the whole experience, but now the focus is a lot different. I think that's changed quite a bit.
Yeah. All right. I got to tell you, one of my great memories of this year's IndyCar season is I was watching the Road America race, hot race, fuel strategy race, and Santino finishes the race, I think runs out of fuel, hops out of the car, runs, and someone throws him a beer. Tell me about that. That
classic. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, the good thing was, so yes, he finished on the podium that day, finished third.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually, we were running a special livery because Marlene Sexton, our long-term partner, had passed away between that race and the previous one. So it was a very emotional week for the Foyt family and the 14 and the team. So Santino finishes third on the podium runs out of gas, they throw him a beer. Thankfully, it was the beer that is also the official beer of IndyCar.
Yeah.
So thanks for the product placement there. And it just exploded virally.
Oh, it
And
did.
so so what we want to do is, and it's a cool, go look it up on YouTube. And so Santino chugs the beer. But the good thing about it was it gave us attention that I could then capture and then send it to our other partners and prospective partners and saying, see, there's always a possibility of some unknown thing going super well for you. And that's the unknown aspect of motorsports and sports marketing overall. I think that makes it more exciting than just going to the trade show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is something could explode, or you could win the race, or you could be on the podium at the Indy 500. That's the excitement of it that I really enjoyed. Especially, it also captured Santino and his love of the fans, and just kind of his persona, I think, was reinforced there in a good way, because I think everybody enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. Certainly, like you said, a viral moment. It was so fun to watch that happen. And were you able to move that into any drink sponsorships?
Yeah, well, we weren't. I was glad that we were able to support the existing sponsor of IndyCar, and it was Miller,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was a great showcase there. So we weren't able to leverage it that way, but at least we were able to activate and support an existing sponsor of the series, which I think was a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Miller Coors.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. What other fun stories do you have from being trackside, paddock, pits, as part of your career journey?
I think one of the most enjoyable parts of it, of racing overall, regardless of the series, is actually, and the value that your partners can get by actually being in the paddock and embedding them into the race team for the weekend. The biggest charge that I like to take our sponsors into the pits during practice. And in particular, when they're practicing pit stops
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're coming in and they're peeling out. Most of the time, we have a partner in there. There will be people that have never been to an motorsports event in their life.
Mm.
And I always look out of the corner of my eye and watch their face when they see it for the first time. Them burning in, 8-second pit stop, peeling out, and they're just going, oh, wow. And here's the thing that I want to tell that I'd like to share with everyone. When you connect with someone and change their life, or they have an experience that they might never forget, and your brand and your company is with them in that moment, let me tell you, they're going to return your call from now on. Because that's the thing that and I think therefore really important is, even as you're working on a sponsor prospect, can you get them to the track? Because if you get that kind of emotional, sensual reaction, you've got an opportunity there. And so that's probably my favorite part about the sponsorship game right now, is seeing the look on their faces when that happens.
Oh, yeah. It's about how you make them feel right now, what you said.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's exactly.
So I'm sure you're doing a lot of dialing for dollars, a lot of networking online and things like that during this quote unquote off season. It's actually the busy season, right?
It is.
Yeah. But other than, reaching out to prospective folks, are you working with your drivers? You're working with the companies that are already on board? What does that part of your day look like?
Yeah. So right now, I think you're right. You got a cadence of upgrading and enhancing your current, right? So here's one thing I think we can assume at times is the reason why they bought the sponsorship or they partnered with you the first time. In a grassroots way, it may be, hey, it's the auto supply distributor that you've worked with for years and years, and they just wanted to help you out, right? Well,
Hmm.
there might be that time frame where they just want to help you out. That shelf life expires. So you've got to continually talk to them about then how, hey, thanks for coming on board, but how do I grow your business this year? How do we expand the program this year to help you achieve your business goals? So there's a certain amount of that, right? And then at least 20% of my time is prospecting new, looking for new companies. And that is by intent. I look at my schedule at the end of the week and said, did I 20% of my time was it spent on finding new companies and new people that I've never connected with or talked to. So that's how I'm kind of balancing growth and then prospecting, growth and then prospecting. And always, as you and I've discussed before, Bill, it's so easy to network and expand your reach if you're on LinkedIn in particular or other platforms, spending some intentional time connecting to people because it's easier than ever before to do that by using those platforms that are free.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Very good. A theme that comes up in my podcast is when individuals say they said yes and figured it out later, or we're in the right time at the right place. So several years ago, Santino Ferrucci said to you, I want to go run the Chili Bowl. What do we,
Oh, yeah.
what do we do? What did you tell him?
I said, yes.
And then what?
Yeah. And then he said, hey, you're from Oklahoma, right? I said, yeah, I grew up there. He says, well, do you think we can showcase some Oklahoma companies? I said, I don't know. Let's go find out. That's the other thing.
Yes.
That's the thing that Santino brought, I think, to our relationship and now a friendship is our willingness to try things. I mean, not every IndyCar driver in this day and age is willing to get into a midget and drive actually in a way that's the opposite in terms of race technique than an Indy car. I mean, you don't want the back end stepping out. You don't drive with the throttle as much as you do an Indy car, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the opposite. And Santino says, I've got to unlearn everything for a week. But our willingness to try new things and kind of be vulnerable has opened us up to new people and new sponsors that we would have never met in IndyCar. Webco Tubing out of Tulsa, Oklahoma would have never connected with us if we had not reached out to them about the Chili Bowl. And now been working with them for 5 years now,
Awesome.
you know? So I think that's, I think the willingness to try something is it makes you vulnerable. You're going to get no.
Mm-hmm.
You get no 99 times. You get yes once, maybe. So the willingness to try that and your ability to be willing to suffer as you try those new things, I think is super important to anybody in motorsports.
Yeah. So listeners, you're right there. Sometimes you got to say yes and figure it out. Sometimes you got to know if you can do it or not, but you'll never know unless you try. And sometimes you might not succeed.
Yeah, exactly.
So JP, let's, you're working at the upper levels of motorsports. You got the young lady involved in ARCA, Santino, and AJ Foyt Racing. Let's say there's a listener here saying, I want to get some help. I want to get better. I've got some budget to hire someone to do this. Are you taking on more clients for that?
No. we've been talking about yes, right?
Yeah.
No. But I tell you, I'll say this. Anybody that's listening to this podcast, I'd be more than happy to, do a quick call with them about where they're at and what they might try. And I'll even do it at scale right now. Here's the first thing I would do. Realize the partners that are most likely right now are probably people that you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they're business owners that want to support you. I find a lot of times some of the initial conversations with drivers at every level is they want to do that Hail Mary pass to the big blue whale company that they don't know or they're not connected with in any way. The likelihood of that is almost zero. The people that will build your motorsports program right now are the people that you currently work with, maybe your current employer, if it's a part-time gig for you, the folks that they know. It's that circle of influence that's pretty close, but we tend to not want to ask them. But they're the most likely people to support you. So
Mhm.
I would start there. But I would say this for any listener of this podcast, I'd be happy to jump on the phone or look at their deck and give them some quick feedback because I want everybody to succeed in this area. I want you to keep driving and enjoying your passion.
That's awesome. Thanks for that. We'll put some information in the show notes to your
Oh,
website, how
yeah.
people can reach out to you. As you research what you do and as you research motorsports, what are some of your go-to places to stay up to date on news, on trends, on marketing, on sponsorships?
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, I'll tell you something. Instead of going, I follow PRI and what's happening in with the Performance Racing Industry Association. I follow Racer, so I kind of enjoy speed sport news, etc. But you know what I'm doing more than ever? I'm letting somebody else do that for me,
Mm.
whether it's Chat GPT, Perplexity, Claude. Like I'm saying, hey, if I was, Marshall Pruitt and I was looking for sources and information and news about the motorsports industry so I could be a better journalist about the space. What's the news that I need to know from the last week? Boom, and let that do it for me
Ooh,
instead of finding a particular source any longer.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's great.
Make it work for you.
Yeah. I want to give another plug for your podcast, Push to Pass. Tell the listeners what that is and what you talk about and how to follow you.
Well, thanks, Bill. Yeah, the Push to Pass podcast is on Spotify, Apple, all the platforms. Yeah, and typically, what I do is a 5 to 8 minute podcast about really what the experiences are that I'm going through every day. Like I had one. Actually, here's what you'll find. If you are interested in content creation, talk about the things that you screwed up because people love to read that and listen to those stories.
Yeah.
I see a spike. I see a spike. I had a podcast a couple weeks ago that was like, here's what happened when the prospect hung up on me,
Mm.
And so I just kind of tell stories about the sponsorship game, and I'll get into some tactics, but I'll talk about mindset a lot and just the things that I'm going through trying to pitch great companies about the opportunities with race teams. So that's kind of the content.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, you can find it on all podcast listening apps. And if listeners, if you are on LinkedIn, follow JP on LinkedIn, reach out to him there because he's also putting up great information, sharing what he's up to and giving some sage advice. JP, is there anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to cover?
Oh, you know what? We talked about this the other day, and Bill, I think you exude this in all the things that you do and how you help folks in this space. And we're talking about a positive mindset, right? So I learned, I think, a long, long time ago. I played, I was kind of a stick and ball guy. So it was basketball. This when there were seasons,
Yeah.
so football, basketball, baseball, small town in Oklahoma. I was almost always the smallest person on the field, on the court, or in the lineup. So I felt like that I learned early that the mindset that I would have and the willingness to maybe put my body in harm's way or just have a different mindset and try other things that maybe the bigger, faster player wouldn't do would enable me to continue and to compete. And I think when we're in business, the same applies. So, can you have a mindset that is so positive and that you're continually putting those things into your head that you can sustain and keep moving forward? If that would be a final thought that I would leave. Put the positive things into your head because we have enough roadblocks and and turns that are going to not go our way, that we can sustain ourselves and keep moving forward. That would be a final thought that I would have for you as we go into the holiday season, right? Think about the good things that can happen.
I love that. What a great way to wrap up a great episode here. Think about the positivity, think about the outcomes, have that mindset. JP, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Bill. Great to be with everyone.